The owner of this sword is Song-gu. Junji turned, facing Song-gu. He did the same. Just then, another person approached. Horace smiled warmly, expressing his sincere gratitude. I truly appreciate both of your help. All three looked at Horace. Song-gu spoke first. You are too kind. Horace inquired about their next steps. A hint of reluctance tinged his voice. It must be time for you two to depart, mustn't it? You have both helped us immensely. Junji thought to himself. I came here to eliminate the variables I created. Then he spoke politely. It was an honor working with you. Song-gu suddenly reminisced, remembering the fierce battle with Set while he was unconscious. Rescuing Horace had led to a brutal fight with Set, and he had grown much stronger after that battle. That moment was when he awakened and realized many important things. He suddenly realized the truth, that trying to eliminate the unpredictable elements only made them multiply further. Zhang Jiayong reminisced about the benefits he had gained from this. But more importantly, the system announced that the Desert Sun had withdrawn its protection from it. You were the one protected by the Desert Sun. You have received a title. A series of sounds rang out continuously. The Desert Sun left one final message. My influence will grant you unparalleled power. The eternal flame of the Desert Sun will forever aid you. He exclaimed with satisfaction. I even have the backing of the Desert Sun. Suddenly, a ding sound echoed. The apocalypse sky was watching over the weakened sun. Horace's expression turned serious. As I said before, the Nile wishes to continue its journey with you. However, we did not ask for your help. His voice resonated with unwavering resolve and absolute confidence. Due to Set's rebellion and the catastrophic collapse of the underworld gates, we have suffered immeasurable losses. However, one day, Egypt will undoubtedly restore its authority and power. Junjung spoke words of comfort, encouraging Horace's spirit. If the gods can overcome this terrible calamity, then Egypt will surely see the light of glory again. Horace's eyes darkened, and he murmured, that light. Then, regaining his composure, he spoke to Junjung, is the light of a great Egypt. Wherever you go, never forget that. And always remember, whenever you need help, Egypt will always be by your side. Junjung cheerfully replied, thank you very much. Horace hesitated, a slight apprehension in his voice as he spoke of his intentions. But I have a small request. Junjung asked curiously, what request? Horace began to explain the current situation before making his request. Due to the recent devastating calamities, Egypt has suffered immeasurable losses. Therefore, it seems we cannot leave Egypt at this time. Moreover, you're also searching for Set. If you can encounter him again, I will entrust this important task to Junjung. Can you retrieve the Eye of Osiris? He was startled, utterly astonished. Is Set still alive? But how can you be so certain? Looking at Horace's sincere expression, he guessed that he could sense a part of Osiris's energy from him. Perhaps that's why he's so sure that Set escaped with the Eye of Osiris. My hope lies with Junjung. Please find the Eye of Osiris. I beg you. Time passed quietly. Against the clear blue sky, a plane soared through the air. Junjung leaned back in his seat and sighed. Everything seemed to be preordained, intricately connected. He entrusted me with the task of finding the eyes of Osiris. Director Gu sat across from him, a small aisle separating them, expressing sympathy. I completely understand. Being swept into a quest for the greatest treasure of the mighty Nile, facing Set and the dark forces behind him. This certainly won't be easy. He agreed with a sigh. Indeed, it won't. We could have used the Bifröst to return instantly. Yet, we took a plane. He immediately became flustered, rushing to explain. The Bifröst's energy isn't infinite. Since being in England, I've had to use it continuously. We still need to use the Bifröst to bring Thor and the others back from New Asgard. I was just teasing you earlier. Seeing his embarrassment, Song-gu dropped the subject. We used the Bifröst to save the people of Egypt, and now we've used it again. The Bifröst has been overworked. Yes, he said, smiling as he looked out the window. We save a lot of people this time. Now, let's go back to Korea. He's pondering another issue. The investigation into Odin's mysterious disappearance. How is it progressing? What's the situation? Mr. Gu strokes his chin, a thoughtful expression on his face. They're still trying to track him down. I'm a little worried. He vanished from his own residence, which is unprecedented. I just hope nothing bad has happened. Junji is silent, lost in thought. He senses things are getting increasingly complicated, with disaster looming. Korea needs Odin. What the hell is going on? CEO Gu is suspicious. Could there be a mastermind behind this? Is it the person he mentioned earlier? He can't be sure. Perhaps the mysterious man in the black suit? He wonders, could it be the same man who appeared before? Or is it just a stranger we've never met? He presented his deductions regarding Odin's mysterious disappearance. I can't help but think of the man in the black suit. Suddenly, a loud explosion rocked the sky, accompanied by a blinding flash of light that cut through our conversation. Mr. Gu flinched, hurriedly looking down at the area just below the flight path. An entire area was engulfed in flames, thick black smoke billowing upwards. He frantically reported a horrific explosion at Incheon International Airport. Incheon, witnessing some horrifying sight, his eyes suddenly widened in terror. Outside, a flock of gigantic monsters were spreading their wings, their eyes glowing brightly in the dark. Song-gu recognized them as the monsters, the dreaded wyverns. Jun Jiang jumped up, screaming in despair. Disaster, the system announced. Desert Sun is faintly watching you. Without hesitation, he jumped out of the plane. At the same time, he summoned the legendary spear, Moosebell. A ferocious wyvern charged towards him with lightning speed. Jun Jiang, using the momentum, unleashed a powerful thrust, piercing through the monster's back. It shrieked in agony, its cries echoing throughout the space. Without pausing, he continued his momentum, leaping high into the air, wielding his magic skillfully and gracefully. He became a blur of motion, decimating the oncoming swarm of wyverns. Jun Jiang's eyes blazed crimson, his gaze as sharp as a blade. The spear in his hand was engulfed in a raging fire, radiating an earth-shattering power. Jun Jiang landed softly, his stance as steady as a mountain. Suddenly, a system sound rang out. Desert Sun has stopped tracking you. He breathed a sigh of relief, silently thanking Desert Sun. They had appeared just when he needed them most. Jun Ji stood up straight, looked up at the vast sky, and murmured, "The calamity." His face was etched with worry and seriousness. Has it begun? Just then, a wyvern spotted him, standing motionless. The monster opened its jaws wide, revealing rows of razor-sharp teeth ready to strike. But Jun Jiang reacted swiftly, channeling all his strength into his legs and leaping high into the air. The ground below, unable to withstand the immense force, exploded into a deep crater. Debris and rocks were sent flying like a hail of bullets. Before the monster could even register the imminent danger, Jun Jiang had delivered the final blow. The system announced, "Level up." The other monsters met the same fate, unable to escape Jun Jiang's relentless pursuit. Level up, the system notified once again. Like a grim reaper, Jun Jiang moved across the battlefield, reaping lives. Any creature that dared to stand in his way paid the ultimate price. Jun Jiang's power continued to grow. The familiar notification echoed. Level up. The once prosperous, modern, and magnificent city now lay in ruins. Desolation and destruction reigned supreme. Raging fires consumed everything in their path. Thick black smoke blanketed the entire city, carrying a suffocating and deadly atmosphere. Amidst the devastation, Jun Jiang's small figure stood tall amidst the countless colossal corpses of wyverns. He was silent, a hint of anger on his face. This terrible catastrophe had inadvertently amplified the magical power within him. Because of this, the mana flow became stagnant, completely paralyzed. Damn it, I can't find any survivors. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream echoed, catching his attention. Jun Jiayong immediately left his position. Several figures fled in terror. The man looked back, yelling, "Run, run!" A ferocious wyvern was hot on their heels. Desperate cries for help rang out. "Help!" Zhang-gu appeared, his hand gripping his sword tightly, plunging it into the mana stream. The mana stream glowed brightly. He put all his strength into piercing the monster's head. Before it could react, Zhang-gu finished it off with a single blow. The wyvern collapsed to the ground, lifeless. He asked, "Is everyone all right?" The man, incredibly grateful, gasped, "Thank you. You saved our lives." Suddenly, he remembered something more important and quickly pointed, reminding him, "The hunters who came to rescue us. They were just over there." Chairman CEO's eyes darted nervously towards Jun Ji, his mind racing with the perilous situation before them. The danger level of this monster far exceeded the capabilities of ordinary hunters. But if they were left behind to rescue the other hunters, they would surely pay with their lives. As he desperately searched for a solution, a calm voice spoke beside him. "I'll go save them." Junji, who he hadn't noticed had been standing below, had landed safely on the ground. Chairman CEO breathed a sigh of relief. You arrived just in time. Junji smiled, instructing, take care of the survivors. I'll go to the other hunters. Chairman CEO immediately agreed. All right, I'll get these people to safety and come back to assist you. A man lay motionless on the ground, unclear if he was alive or dead. His chest was covered in bloody scratches. Junji strode closer, observing carefully. He suddenly noticed the crest of the white tiger on the other man's attire. His face darkened, worry etched across his features. Why was the white tiger gang here? Suddenly, the system issued an alert. The Muspelheim spear is reacting strongly to a demonic energy source. June jolted, quickly turning his head in one direction. Not far from there, a mysterious figure cloaked in jet black appeared. He too wielded a sharp spear. His eyes glowed with an eerie, haunting light from beneath his hood. June was utterly astonished. Looking into the eyes of the black-cloaked man, his pupils began to dilate with crimson streaks. Then, a deep crimson engulfed his irises completely. The hand gripping his spear suddenly sprouted sharp thorns from beneath the skin. The system once again announced the situation. The Muspelheim spear is resonating powerfully with the erupting demonic energy. June's face hardened, a grim expression settling upon it. He quickly channeled his mana, preparing for battle. The man in black remained motionless, exuding a terrifying aura of menace. He remained silent, unresponsive. Suddenly, a voice broke through, bringing him back to reality. Li Junji, In Jiang, and the members of the White Tiger Guild appeared unexpectedly. The level of destruction. If I had known, I would have brought everyone with me. We came here to see you. In one hand, she held a sword in the other. She held Gongju, planning a pleasant surprise for him. But it seems we're the ones who are surprised. The system announcement rang out once again. His spear, Muspelheim, vibrated intensely with demonic energy. Dark veins pulsed on Junji's face, a sign of impending rage. He spoke sternly, a warning in his voice. Thank you for coming, but you should all go back. Hearing this, Inja retorted hotly. We've saved a lot of survivors, so we're not leaving now. Junji bowed his head, silent in thought, and Kang also felt a chilling aura. A sense of danger emanating from the mysterious man in black. After a moment of contemplation, Young-eun spoke up. On your way back, you'll encounter Seongo. Please help him. And Kang looked at Young-eun, remaining silent. She pressed her lips together, hesitation and uncertainty swirling within her. Finally, she decided to place her trust in the young man's abilities. We believe you can do it, she said firmly. You must return safely. With that, Kang ordered the White Tiger Gang to turn and leave. Young-eun silently watched as their figures disappeared into the distance. Will I succeed this time? He wondered, his heart filled with unease. Young-eun turned his attention back to the black-clad opponent waiting for him. He's the mastermind behind all the incidents in Utgat, and Young-eun thought to himself, he could be behind what happened at the trial too. I can't run from him. He told himself, but what if he's not the one I'm looking for? Young-eun leaped from the ground, gripping Muspel tightly in his hand. Young-eun charged forward with terrifying speed. We need to confirm his identity. See if he truly is the one we suspect. A sudden plan flashed in his mind. I'll rip that black coat right off him. An earth-shattering explosion erupted, obliterating everything within its radius. Flames blazed brilliantly, painting the sky crimson. On the other side of the battlefield, a member of the White Tiger Gang fled in panic, shouting, Up ahead! There's a dragon. Jiang quickly made a decision. I'll pierce through it. Just then, a hand reached out to stop her. He stood before her, his expression firm. No. With him at the center, others stepped forward. Leave this to us. You saved our lives and the other survivors before, but you're injured now. Jiang knew her own limits. One dragon wasn't enough to stop her, but she still hesitated. Before she could finish, a sudden wave of dizziness washed over her, causing her to stumble. The light in her eyes dimmed, growing faint and clouded. Witnessing this, Gongyu was startled, worry flooding his heart. She collapsed, her hand bracing against the ground for support. Her sword, plunged deep into the earth, became the only anchor for her trembling body. Trang fought to keep her mind clear, analyzing the cause of this sudden weakness. I've lost too much blood, she thought to herself. Left with no other choice, she had to accept the help of others. I need your help, she said weakly. Fight with me. They readily agreed, their heartfelt thanks echoing around her. Breathing a sigh of relief, she felt strength slowly returning to her body. Although she couldn't compare to Li Junjiang, she was certain she was growing stronger. The system suddenly announced, "The prince, the white horse rider, the king of August 6 feet, has granted you his protection." Rays of sunlight pierced through the thick clouds, shining down upon her. Entrang stood still, absorbing the pure energy from the sunlight. The white horse prince finally revealed his true identity, his body overflowing with magical power. Two brilliant auras, one white and one black, clashed violently, moving so fast that the naked eye could only see blurred afterimages of the spear tips collide. Neither side yielded, neither would give an inch. A deafening sound, like thunder, echoed throughout the space. They were locked in a stalemate, neither able to gain the upper hand. Junjiang was under immense pressure, incredibly tense. Despite giving it his all, using his merged power with violent gorilla, combined with a surging flow of mana, and even the destructive dragon heart energy, the man effortlessly blocked this terrifying power. The man in black remained completely composed, as still as he was at the start. Overwhelmed by his opponent's immense power, he was forced to retreat. Junjiang then stumbled, his knees buckling as he slid across the ground. However, Junjiang didn't give up. He continued to attack. His suspicions grew stronger with each exchange blow. This guy could very well be the mastermind behind Utgard and Set's actions. No matter the danger, no matter facing the terrifying Utgard and Set, I have to accept it. Recklessly exposing himself to danger, determined to uncover his true identity. Determination burned within him, vowing to tear away the mysterious black cloak and expose the enemy's true face. Jun unleashed his full strength, launching a relentless barrage of attacks towards the cloaked figure. A torrent of magical power collided violently, creating an earth-shattering confrontation. He leaped into the air, transforming into a silver blur, his sword slashing relentlessly from all directions. Yet, the figure remained motionless, simply wielding his spear with effortless grace, easily deflecting every single one of Jun's attacks. Suddenly, the system issued a warning. Dark energy is invading your body. It wasn't just sharp thorns anymore, but a jet-black vine that had tightly coiled around Jun's arm. He struggled to break free, to reach the cloaked figure, but all his efforts were in vain. A sense of helplessness filled him with frustration and rage. The figure only defended, showing no intention of killing him. But even so, Jun couldn't inflict even a single scratch. He still hadn't shown any sign of revealing himself. A piercing alarm blared through the system, signaling imminent danger. A surge of malevolent energy erupted, fueling a frenzy of chaos. The cloaked figure seemed to sense Junjiang's critical condition. He didn't miss the opportunity, letting out a mocking sneer. Thorny vines suddenly sprang forth, ensnaring Junjiang's upper body. He gritted his teeth, enduring the agonizing pain that tore through him. The vines constricted the crystal within Junjiang, pushing his system to its limits. Simultaneously, a voice echoed in his mind, an urgent warning. The blood dragon stone is resonating strongly with the dragon heart. Despite the looming danger, Junjiang ignored the pain. He lunged forward, unleashing a decisive attack. This time, the cloaked figure was caught off guard, sent flying backward. He stumbled back, astonishment etched on his face. His spear-holding arm trembled from the impact of the powerful blow. Junjiang pressed his advantage, giving his opponent no chance to recover. His relentless attacks began to take their toll. The cloaked figure was startled by the sudden shift in momentum. He hastily raised his spear to defend, blocking Junjiang's fierce onslaught. This time, the cloaked figure was more cautious. He easily flung Junjiang back, sending him crashing to the ground. Seizing the moment when he was distracted, Junjiang swiftly snatched the man's hood. He executed a graceful spin in midair, the hood falling behind him. Junjiang created a safe distance between himself and the cloaked figure, but then he froze, astonished. In the blink of an eye, the man had already pulled his hood back up, concealing his face. Junjiang's efforts were completely in vain. He wondered in shock what had just happened. The cloaked figure warned in a low voice, "It's useless." Finishing his words, a mystical purple aura enveloped his entire body. The energy instantly erupted violently. The cloaked figure's form was swallowed by the blinding light. Elsewhere, Injong felt an immense power surging within her. She spoke confidently, Everyone stand back. I'll handle him. The other sighed exasperatedly. What's going on? She had just absorbed a massive amount of magical power. Joy filled her heart. This is amazing. I have to test the power of this new guardian spirit. The brave girl stood facing the ferocious monster. Suddenly, a brilliant stream of golden mana shot from out of nowhere. Green blood splattered everywhere. The monster's head was severed from its neck in an instant before it could react. Witnessing the horrific scene, In-Jang was stunned into silence. She felt a flicker of apprehension before the earth-shattering power she had just witnessed. Who could have defeated the ferocious dragon in the blink of an eye? A muscular figure, sword in hand, landed on the ground. Song-gu smiled, resting his sword on his shoulder. I've come to help. They were overjoyed to recognize their old acquaintance, the hero Song-gu. Meanwhile, on Junjiang's fierce battlefield, the young man collapsed to the ground, his face darkened. Now, that cunning old man had deceived them all. The man in black standing before Junjiang coldly denied it. No, a sinister light flickered in his eyes. I am the one who sees a new future. His body seemed to have reached its limit, causing him to suddenly cough up a mouthful of blood. He then collapsed unconscious, falling heavily to the ground. A mysterious black crow descended beside the cloaked figure, perching ominously on his shoulder. He whispered, Hyuxiang, let's return. Song-gu and In-Chang returned to the scene together. Both were stunned by the horrific sight before them. The cloaked figure stood defiantly, unharmed, while Junjiang lay unconscious on the ground, the extent of his injuries unknown. Suddenly, his body twitched. A hand reached out, as if trying to control the flow of mana. Junjiang was pulled towards them by an unseen force. In-Chang quickly knelt down, embracing him and shouting in worry. Li Junjiang, while Song-gu remained silent, lost in thought. The atmosphere became heavy and tense. He gasped in astonishment. You? Why? The cloaked figure slowly raised his hood, saying coldly, This boy is still useful. He demanded furiously, Are you abandoning Asgard? The secret of their true origins, long a mystery, was finally revealed. Hyojin's voice was grave as he commanded, Survive! The man cloaked in shadowy black. Though knowing he was no match for him, Junjiang charged forward bravely. The mysterious figure stood calmly, waiting. Junjiang's arm, bristling with sharp thorns, pierced through flesh, combined with the terrifying speed and power of the muscle spear. He spun, executing a mid-air somersault, using the momentum to achieve his goal. At least, he thought, I can knock his cloak off and escape. Junjiang suddenly remembered the treasure he had been given. He decided to use Merlin's necklace, the artifact that could enhance his speed, combined with his own combat skills and his increasingly proficient mana control. He hoped to subdue the terrifying demonic energy. Things don't always go as planned, nor are they always within our control. However, there's still a critical issue that needs resolving. The demonic energy within the Sky Spear tree was inherently more potent than Zhang Jiai. He believed the jet black tendrils that tightly bound Zhang Jiai's upper body, along with the ferocious rage he merged with it, were the cause of this loss of control. Finally, despite enduring countless hardships and trials, Zhang Jiai achieved his long-sought goal. But then, for some reason, he found a way to control it with the help of Odin. The enigmatic man in the black cloak he had been pursuing all this time was the supreme god, Odin himself. His eyes widening in disbelief, he exclaimed, Impossible! That couldn't have been Odin. Zhang Jiai, his wounds carefully bandaged, lay in his hospital bed, slowly turning his head. In-Chang immediately noticed the change in him. Overjoyed, she softly said, You're awake. You should rest a little longer. He pushed himself up, trying to sit. More importantly, that man was Odin. A voice suddenly cut in. Yeah, I saw him too. Zhang Jiai looked towards the source of the sound. Look, Mr. Gu. Jinu hesitated. If that person is actually Odin, a small crystal shard suddenly materialized in his hand. And Kang witnessed it and asked in surprise, Huh? What's that? Jinu held up both hands, each clutching a similar object. Something left behind from the battle with Set, and something Odin just gave me. Song-gu gasped, Huh? Jinu boldly offered his theory. These two look identical. It's just a hunch, but I don't think they're the same person. I think Odin received the black cloak from the man in the black cloak. And Kang asked skeptically, Why would you think that? Jinu slowly explained. Throughout the battle with Set, Odin was supposed to be with him at Asgard discussing some matters. Similarly, when I went to China, Odin hadn't left his dwelling at all. Song-gu was lost in thought. However, there's still a glimmer of hope, a slim chance to resolve this. But we can't be entirely certain. Jun-jung added, offering another hypothesis. It's also possible things unfolded differently. But at least, it seems, Odin has decided to side with the mysterious man in the black cloak. For some reason, he chose to stand with him. We mustn't forget him, a voice chimed in. Seo Jian said in a low voice. He's a madman, a lunatic, always obsessed with delving into forbidden knowledge. He nodded in agreement. His motives remain a mystery. But Asgard, he abandoned everything he worked so hard to build. What drove him to do this? And he saved you too. Jun-jung said solemnly, a pensive expression on his face. I know, even though I failed in that battle. But he still saved me when I was consumed by dark energy, when I was almost completely swallowed by it. Time quietly passed. Jinwoo gradually recovered from the fierce battle with Hyojin. The two stood on the rooftop, lost in conversation. Sung-gu spoke first. Because you warned me about the impending disaster, I devoted all my efforts to dealing with it. He crossed his arms, calmly recounting his decisions. In areas with a severe shortage of hunters, I established more guild branches. Below the rooftop, several people in protective gear stood guard. Sung-gu looked at Jinwoo, seeking his opinion. We will continue to merge other guilds and establish alliances with them. That's my plan. What do you think, Jinwoo? Sung-gu asked with a smile. It seems you've turned the universities into safe havens. Jinwoo replied, thank you for trusting me and taking action with me. CEO Sung-gu looked up at the vast sky, suddenly feeling the future uncertain and unclear. Right here in Incheon, a thin but dangerous veil was covering the entire area. The current situation is no different than China years ago. What do you think our next move should be? I'm thinking about a similar case that happened before. We've completely lost contact with the rest of the country. And just like what happened in China, it seems we're also facing a mysterious gate. Junji turned around, his eyes fixed sharply on him. In Incheon, where this gate is about to collapse, I will confront the ruler directly. Song-gu asked in surprise. The ruler is in Incheon. He had no intention of hiding this information. I don't know how to stop this disaster, but I know how to minimize the damage. Imagine the scene when disaster strikes. That open gate will collapse, and they will continue to collapse endlessly. Junji seriously presented the most feasible solution at this moment. We must eliminate the cause of their collapse. I know this can't completely prevent the disaster, but by confronting the ruler, we can buy ourselves more time. CEO Jian suspiciously asked, if you have a plan, why not share it with everyone at the Nile River? I can explain the disaster in many ways. But there's only one outcome I'm certain of. Jong-gu replied, while thinking to himself, what I know is the path the Demon King chose. I only know how to minimize the devastation in Korea. Jong-gu solemnly declared his plan. I will go and confront the ruler. Song-gu's astonishment was evident. System announcement. The apocalypse sky is observing you. Have you decided to see this through? The Demon King's autobiography doesn't tell the whole story, but it does record that he became more powerful after defeating the ruler. History may have been altered, but I still have to try my best to follow the Demon King's path. Elsewhere, a scene of utter devastation. Nothing left intact. A raging inferno painted the sky with flames. 3 enigmatic figures, cloaked in jet-black robes, stood silently atop a towering skyscraper, observing the chaotic scene below. A man with a long, gruesome scar across his face coldly declared, the catastrophe in Egypt has officially begun. Hyojin calmly replied, his voice unwavering. It's the same in South Korea. We've encountered weaker adversaries. The leader, seemingly the commander of the group, spoke, I understand. As he turned around, a horrifying truth was revealed. His face was the spitting image of Jun Jiang, unbelievably so. A strange light flickered in his eyes. So it has all begun, he uttered. He tried to suppress the growing unease within him. Even though he had seen that face countless times, he still couldn't get used to it. In another corner of the city, lush, tangled vines covered the path. A voice whispered, filled with gloom. The children are withering away, and the sovereign is watching everything through the plants. They're coming closer. Strange vines began to sprout and spread across his hand. Immediately, they lashed out, attacking the man kneeling on the ground. In desperation, he screamed for help. In the blink of an eye, the vines swallowed his head whole. Then, they continued to spread across his body in a terrifying manner. They surfaced like a network of veins. A sinister look spread across the overlord's face. He laughed, exhaling a puff of black smoke like a seasoned hunter. He looked at his hand with amusement and satisfaction. This planet called Earth is truly fascinating. An army with long, pointed ears like goblins, emanating a deadly aura, awaited his command. The overlord declared in an arrogant tone, "In this place, we will exterminate the vermin and rebuild our mighty kingdom." They roared with enthusiasm, responding to his call. The flow of magic surged so powerfully that it shook the surrounding space. The city now lies in ruins, like an ancient relic lost to time. Looking at this desolate wasteland, one can imagine the ferocity of the battle that took place here. Horrifying. The sky is painted in ethereal hues, with streams of blue and purple intertwined. On a small watchtower at the edge of the border, two figures stand guard, vigilantly observing their surroundings. Suddenly, they jolt, their eyes darting downwards. In a burst of excitement, they exclaim, "Look, there are survivors!" A line of people trails forward. The atmosphere suddenly becomes lively and bustling. In-jong raises her voice, joyfully announcing, "We're back." She and Gongdu wave to CEO Gu and Jun Jiyoung, who are standing on the rooftop. He intently observes the situation below. "How many vehicles are there? There must be at least 200 people." He adds, "There's definitely a reason why they're so late." He frowns, worry etched on his face. "This doesn't look good. We could soon be overwhelmed." Director Gu reassured everyone. "I've developed a contingency plan for this situation. Don't worry, we've secured the surrounding area. We can recruit hunters from the survivors to cooperate with us and help us expand our operations." Jun Ji, as expected, displayed absolute confidence. "All right, Captain, let's head in. The search party should have gathered some new intel by now." The group moved to a different area. Inside a meeting room, In-jang was presenting a report on the current situation to her teammates. The situation outside is critical. Her expression was grave. "The number of monsters has significantly decreased," she said, pointing at the screen. "However, take a look at this image we just captured. The remaining monsters are converging in one location." Witnessing the scene, everyone was instantly horrified. "Oh my God, you mean all these black dots are monsters?" In-jang calmly continued her analysis. "Fortunately, they're all moving towards that building. Thanks to that, the number of survivors is higher than expected." Jun's face darkened. "That's the lair of this area's ruler." The ferocious monster army acted under absolute command, obeying the orders of the rulers, those who possess the ability to control the monsters. After defeating a ruler, if a new ruler didn't emerge after the catastrophic destruction, it meant humanity had won the war for survival. His expression turned serious, a thoughtful look washing over his face. That's exactly what had happened in history. Director Gu announced important information. "We have successfully established contact with the outside world." Fortunately, not all of Korea had fallen into this chaotic state. They felt a sense of relief, breathing a collective sigh. "Phew, that's great." Before they could fully rejoice, he issued a warning. But that's not the whole truth. Most of the remaining areas are in a similar situation to Incheon, engulfed in the flames of war. In places where the situation is still stable, hunters are working tirelessly to evacuate civilians and are planning to send aid to isolated areas. Chairman Go Gun, he sat deep in thought, his face etched with worry. Sooner or later, all of Korea, no, perhaps the entire world will fall into this desperate situation. However, there's no need for the other hunters to know this harsh truth. Right now, what we need most is faith and hope. Chairman Go-gun, he spoke, his voice strong and encouraging. "We've tried contacting other countries, but according to the information received, most areas outside our borders are facing even more dire circumstances. But I believe humanity will ultimately prevail. The potential that humanity has shown up to this point has never been weak." He frowned, his voice deepening with authority. "It's time for us to act." He clenched his fist and shouted with unwavering resolve. "This is the first step in the fight against the impending catastrophe, to reclaim Incheon and protect Seoul." His words invigorated the room, and everyone rose to their feet in response. Only Song Jin-woo remained silent, lost in his own thoughts. In the Demon King's chronicles and in human history books, there's no record of a supreme being ruling this territory. It's only known that, after a fierce and arduous war against the ruler, the one who held ultimate power, humanity achieved a glorious victory. The young man's victorious spirit grew more resolute than ever. The ruler of Incheon will pay for his crimes. I will follow the Demon King's path and defeat you. System announcement. The heavens are watching you. With the university, now a base, a safe haven for UGIO's group at its center, the surrounding area was gradually reclaimed. A group of swordsmen cautiously surveyed the area. They no longer detected any traces of the monsters, and humanity began the process of rebuilding, restoring the devastated city. The survivors, less than 10% of the population, were fortunate enough to survive the catastrophe. Across Incheon, arms reached out from the rubble, painting a scene of utter devastation. But even in the depths of despair, a glimmer of hope emerged. As mystical gates opened, flooding the world with magical energy, everyone felt a surge of power coursing through their veins. They were astonished, unsure of what was happening. The eyes of the awakened turned towards the survivors. They rejoiced, realizing the miraculous transformation within them. Hunters. I'm a hunter. Me too. And so, the hunters were born. A person in a hazmat suit guided those who had just awakened as hunters. Everyone, this way please. With the emergence and training of new hunters, things gradually returned to a semblance of order. Songgu and Jun Jiang stood together on a rooftop. He smiled, asking, "Ready?" He turned, replying, "Yeah." He stepped closer, announcing, "We'll leave in an hour." Songgu replied firmly, "All right, but there's one thing that worries me. It's the sovereign. How strong is he?" Junji suddenly exclaimed in surprise. Odin, but immediately after, he dismissed the thought. "No, it's not time yet." His cryptic words confused Songgu. "What do you mean?" Junji calmly explained. "Over time, they will become increasingly powerful. Right now, it's still the early stages of the great calamity. He can't be too strong yet." Songgu felt a sense of relief, breathing a sigh. Junji was lost in thought, pondering about Odin. He was suspicious of why Odin hadn't tried to kill him. In fact, he had even helped him. Why did he let me live? Junji clenched his fist. But asking those questions now is pointless. Junji turned around, his face hardening with resolve. "Let's go, it's time tea." Countless trees grew wild, crammed together amidst the bustling city, creating a scene of desolation. Steady footsteps echoed in the silent air. The boy carefully observed his surroundings, astonishment in his eyes. "This is unbelievable. A dense forest like this, growing right in the heart of the bustling city. In less than a month, its fingerprint is clearly visible in this direction." The ferocious monsters spotted their enemy and immediately charged, roaring fiercely. The courageous girl leaped into action, plunging into the midst of the monsters, slaughtering them without hesitation. Entrang excitedly swung her sword with lightning-fast speed, severed body parts of the monsters, rained down on the ground. Jun Jiang smiled, observing the battle and making an assessment. She has truly become extraordinarily strong. However, she hasn't fully mastered her skills yet, but she's improving, on her way to becoming a true Siegfried. Suddenly, a gigantic withered tree, completely bare of leaves. The creature's 3 eyes glowed with an eerie, terrifying crimson light. They froze, their steps faltering in sheer terror. What in the world is that? It's massive and radiating immense magical energy. Jun Jiang calmly stepped forward. The monster's lair appeared to be a colossal, ancient tree. He focused his magical energy, assuming a battle-ready stance. It was time to unleash the majestic power of the Fire King. Flames erupted, violently engulfing the sky. Billowing black smoke ascended, blanketing the area in a thick fog. The forest became easy kindling, consumed by the inferno. The fire spread with alarming speed. The others watched the battle with awe and admiration. "Whoa, he's on a completely different level. It's unbelievable. If we're even the same kind of hunter." Jun Jiang suggested they rest before continuing their journey. Mr. Gu agreed, stating the need to conserve their strength in case of unforeseen circumstances. "We'll rest for about 20 minutes before moving on." Jun Jiang summoned his status screen. A holographic display materialized before him, detailing Jun Jiang's stats and attributes. Jun Jiang pondered the mysterious man in the black cloak. He recalled the previous encounters. The figure hidden within the flash of lightning, Huiyin radiating a chilling, killing intent, and the one said to lurk in the shadows of Tagara Loki, the king of the giants. Finally, the man's face surfaced in his memory, the one who had slain even the great Odin. Junjun Gesse Ais darkened. From the beginning, he suspected the man in black was him. But why did he exist in this world? A strong premonition arose within him. He didn't know why, but Junjung believed the man in black was the Demon King. Junjung speculated internally. If the man in black truly was the Demon King, was he also monitoring his status screen like this? I'm almost level 100. This was recorded in the Demon King's ancient grimoire, within which lie earth-shattering secrets. Just as a stat reaching its absolute limit of 100 will lead to a cataclysmic transformation. The same will happen with levels. But levels grant a power surge far beyond any single stat. It's not mere development, but a transcendent evolution. Are you analyzing the situation? Not development, but a quantum leap in evolution. Soon, I will reach level 100. Thanks to the recent great catastrophe, my progress has accelerated dramatically. Moreover, Junwoo clenched his fist. The bone spirit absorption skill will soon awaken. He eagerly anticipated the unparalleled power of the Demon King, the very power that brought the world's most renowned hunters to their knees. That extraordinary ability is about to erupt. A faint, green mist permeated the air, creating a bizarre and eerie atmosphere. The others were astonished, unable to believe their eyes. What in the world is that? Such terrifying magic power. They watched the scene unfold before them with horrified expressions, fear gripping their hearts. Is that what we're up against? Xianggu also felt the immense pressure. Are you sure? Sure we can do this? This overlord and I were an even match. He made his decision. I'll trust you. He slowly turned around. With a serious expression, he warned everyone. We're entering the overlord's lair now. If anyone wants to back out, do it now. Junjung wore a grave expression. That place will be a living hell. His words made everyone hesitate. Meanwhile, at the overlord's headquarters, a man lay unconscious on the ground. Grotesque vines pierced his flesh, draining his life force and magic power. His mana slowly being consumed. The ruler let out a satisfied chuckle. How long has it been since I've enjoyed such a feast? Those from before, their flavor was quite unique. If I recall, they were called hunters, weren't they? Rubiel gave a slight nod in agreement. My appetite is still raging. It seems I haven't quenched my hunger. Very well, bring me more prey. It seems there are a few approaching. Yes, your command. Suddenly, the ruler jolted, his eyes widening in terror. What's happening? Why are my children falling so quickly? He furrowed his brow in rage. I underestimated them, treated them like mere insects. But I was wrong. It seems some powerful insects have infiltrated their ranks. Rubiel used that. Yes, master. On the other side, a sea of flames engulfed the entire forest. The temperature continued to rise relentlessly. Junjiao's group stood outside the affected area, observing the situation. The others were astonished by the horrific scene before them. I've witnessed countless fifth-rank hunters, but I've never seen skills with such a wide range of impact and sheer power. He once mentioned a living hell for monsters. System announcement. You have leveled up. The retribution went smoother than expected. He calmly assessed the situation. Everything seemed easier than initially anticipated, and his own progress was accelerating dramatically. The tree monster slowly approached, each step sending tremors through the ground. Intong charged forward to meet the challenge. There's still a few stragglers left. I'll take care of them. She swiftly left her initial position, moving with blinding speed. Suddenly, she spotted someone hanging from a tree branch. He struggled desperately, pleading, "Help me." Intong hesitated, caught off guard by the unexpected situation. Just then, a sword strike with earth-shattering power tore through the air. Rubiel appeared out of nowhere, launching a lightning-fast attack, catching Intong completely off guard. She was like a wild beast, relentlessly attacking Intong. She frantically defended against the relentless attacks coming from all directions. She was astonished by Rubiel's formidable strength. What in the world? Such a powerful monster. She laughed triumphantly, confident that victory was within her grasp. Suddenly, her eyes widened, glancing to the side. A surge of mana, as powerful as a tsunami, came crashing down, forcing Jubiel to quickly retreat to dodge. She whipped around in astonishment, searching for the source of that terrifying energy. Jun Jiang remained in his mana-releasing stance, a frightening aura of killing intent radiating around him. Rubiel also felt that terrifying pressure. She paused her attack and landed on a large tree branch. He silently assessed her as an extremely formidable opponent. I was certain she couldn't dodge that attack. Another person suddenly appeared. Song-gu, carrying the man, gently landed on the ground. Rubiel was startled, turning to see the binding ropes had been cut. And Trang spoke mockingly in a contemptuous tone. A hostage and an ambush? How utterly despicable and cowardly. But what now that your hostage is in my hands? The girl casually suggested, a hint of amusement in her tone. You seem pretty strong. Let's have a fair fight one-on-one. But she smirked, dismissing the girl's offer as a joke. Are you feeling upset, little girl? Are you mocking me? The girl's expression suddenly changed, her demeanor turning icy. In her constricted pupils, the image of countless people hanging from trees appeared. Their desperate, agonizing screams echoed endlessly. Save me. Please, someone save me. Please, just kill me. Their faces were etched with sheer terror. Their voices grew weak and broken. Water! Give me water! Please save! Those with weaker minds couldn't bear to witness this horrific scene. This is horrifying. That bastard Rubiel. He witnessed their horrified reactions and erupted in a twisted, maniacal laughter. Jun Ji clenched his fists, trying to suppress the rage boiling inside him. He decided they had to retreat immediately. CEO Gu was also powerless, forced to choose the same option. There was no other way, only retreat. And Chang could only helplessly watch as his comrades were captured, his eyes blinking rapidly. Damn it! They swiftly carried out the order, quickly withdrawing from the dangerous area. Jun Ji turned around, calling out to his teammate. Jik, we need to get out of here now. He sensed something unusual was happening. His eyes quickly darted around, searching for any suspicious signs. Some entity was watching their every move. On the other side, the ruler stood with his hands on his hips, observing everything with an amused expression. He showed contempt for their actions. Those who possessed extraordinary power chose to flee, abandoning their weaker comrades to save themselves. 009. He clenched his fist, solidifying the thought in his mind. Survival of the fittest. The strong advance toward the goals they have chosen, even if it means leaving their comrades to die gruesome deaths along the way. The ruler smirked, satisfied. Excellent. Excitement surged within him, sensing a once-in-a-millennium opportunity. Though I was once mighty, my name renowned throughout the heavens. After countless years imprisoned in a spatial rift, my power has greatly diminished. If I can absorb them, I will regain my unparalleled power. He roared his command. Corner those insects. Drive them to desperation. Use their own comrades as shields, as spears to pierce their hearts. The ruler reveled in the glorious future to come. Once I've absorbed these worthless fools, I will become the supreme god of this place. Outside, his underlings were being cut down. Their bodies were easily torn apart, blood spraying forth. Crimson mana ripped through enemy bodies. Jun Gyo, In Chang, and Gong Ju fought in perfect sync, holding back the ferocious monsters. Gong Ju sighed, wondering aloud. That self-proclaimed ruler, just what kind of monster is he? It feels like he's relentlessly hunting us. The young man remained silent, unsure of how to respond. Just then, someone reported that he had awakened. The man, recently rescued from the jaws of death, slowly regained consciousness, groaning softly. Everyone gathered around him. His body trembled uncontrollably, his face as pale as a sheet. Terror was etched deep within his mind. That monster, it's truly a demon. Jun Ji then spoke up, asking about the situation. What happened to you? Horrific memories flooded back, and he stammered, his voice trembling. He eats people. With that, he lost consciousness completely and collapsed. Someone nearby quickly caught him. He's fainted. Lieutenant Park Jin-woo remained silent, his teeth gritted in fury. Those beasts! Jun Ji, order a retreat. She immediately protested. He tried to reason with her. Jun Ji is right. We can't do anything in this situation. Ungu has analyzed the situation and presented to you that this is the most viable solution in our current predicament. Those cowardly monsters are using humans as living shields, hoping to protect themselves from our attacks. Even at this very moment, they are relentlessly launching their assault. If we allow this situation to continue, our own comrades will be put in grave danger. And Chang's face darkened as she lowered her head. However, Just then, Jun Ji-o spoke up, interrupting the heavy silence. We will not return empty-handed. At the same time, he summoned the legendary spear, Muspelheim. She watched his resolute figure, wondering to herself, what is he planning to do? Flame mana suddenly materialized, spreading throughout the area, growing increasingly fierce and intense. Jun Ji-o took his stance, gripping the spear tightly and raising it high above his head. Then, with all his might, he hurled the spear with terrifying force. The ground beneath him cracked and shattered into pieces. The spear soared through the air, ripping through space and tearing across the forest with incredible speed. It pierced through every obstacle in its path. Finally, the group reached their final destination, the lair of the supreme ruler. Muspel's spear pierced straight into his body. The ruler hastily summoned a protective energy shield, but the spear's power far surpassed his expectations. The ruler struggled to resist, but his hand was scorched by the terrifying heat. He raised his hand, examining the bleeding wound. I underestimated you all. The intense pain completely extinguished the ruler's initial arrogance. This is a feeling I haven't experienced in a very long time. Whether it was rage clouding his mind, or his madness taking over, he suddenly laughed like a lunatic. Good, very good. How long has it been since I've been injured this badly? You dare to injure me, RF King of all time? I should reward you. He licked his lips, his eyes full of hunger. The reward is for me to devour you. The scene shifted to Junjiang's encampment. Note, assuming Junjiang is a name and should not be translated. A strange sound echoed through the silent night. The two guards suddenly startled, their faces etched with surprise. Why are they back so soon? The three of them, Junjiang, Songgu, and Inchong, quickly gathered, their faces grim as they conferred. She frowned, her eyes filled with suspicion. Could they have discovered our location? I'm 90% sure they know, he stated firmly. He was astonished, unable to believe what he had just heard. You mean, could it be? But Junjiang extinguished Songgu's last glimmer of hope. Yes, I'm certain they will attack. A large-scale, all-out attack from the monsters will begin tonight. The city sky was dark and heavy, a suffocating atmosphere pressing down. It was an omen of the bloody battle that was about to unfold. The sound of hurried, urgent footsteps echoed. Songgu took a running leap. He launched himself from one rooftop to another with agility. He landed softly, without a sound. Before him, Junjiang and Inchong were already waiting. Seeing that the key members were assembled, he spoke. Everyone was present. Mr. Gu observed the group of young people and asked, "Are you all ready to depart now?" The young man nodded firmly and replied, "Yes, sir." And Kang was also in a fighting stance, radiating a powerful aura. "We are fully prepared," and Kang affirmed. After all, Junhyang wasn't one to let things go easily. He resolutely agreed with her. "I must at least repay what I've received. I have a responsibility to see this through." Junhyang turned to Seonggu, his voice serious. "Hyung, you stay here." Seonggu's face was filled with confusion. Junhyang's expression became more serious than ever. He wanted to warn Seonggu about the danger they were about to face. As you witnessed earlier today, our enemies are not ordinary monsters. It would be dangerous to assume that they are just mindless, unintelligent beasts. They are ferocious and will attack us at any moment. Seonggu paused for a moment, then replied. Junjiang's voice was firm, his expression serious. "Don't underestimate their power. They're extremely dangerous. In a worst-case scenario, if disaster strikes, the Bifrost holder, meaning you, must stay here." Songgu was worried about Junjiang, but his words made perfect sense. Left with no other choice, he sighed in agreement. "I'm still worried about you two. So you two are really going to risk this with just yourselves?" Junjiang's resolve was absolute. This was more than just a test of strength. "We have to succeed. There are still so many people imprisoned by them. The longer we wait, the more people will die." He spoke with confident assurance, his voice unwavering. "We'll resolve this quickly and return." Inchong smiled, adding, "That's right, we'll definitely be back." Songgu decided to hold down the fort. To reassure them, he said, "All right, I'll take care of everything here. You two go." Without hesitation, he immediately sprang into action. Junjiang leaped from the rooftop, his figure disappearing without a beat. Injang had complete faith in everyone's abilities. "There's nothing to worry about. We'll leave Gongdu here. What should we do now?" Junji spoke, his voice thoughtful and low. "Our mission today is..." His gaze sharpened, becoming resolute. to eliminate all the monsters gathered at a specific location. Countless ferocious monsters were hunting each other, forming a terrifying army. At the center of the horde was a gigantic tree monster, the one that had kidnapped innocent people. Each step it took sent clouds of dust and debris billowing into the air. The two stood on the rooftop of a nearby building, observing the situation. In-Jang's face paled slightly. She hadn't expected such a massive number of monsters. Junji, look at all those monsters. Shouldn't we go back? In-Jang asked worriedly. His plan remained unchanged. They had prepared for this. She tried to convince Junji, but they have no idea how vast our forces truly are. Look, our numbers are like ants in a colony. Junji's resolve remained as firm as Mount Tai. We need to focus on the task at hand. And so do they. They must concentrate on completing their objective. Suddenly, he jolted, sensing an unusual energy surge. They've detected our presence. He turned and urged In-Chang, hurry up. It seems like they've seen us, she exclaimed in surprise. What's happening? Junji quickly explained the movement of the monster formation. Their leader seems quite confident. He's intentionally letting his entire army advance first. He's luring us there. They immediately set off towards their target. Junji charged ahead, leading the way. Suddenly, he sensed a dangerous killing intent approaching. Rubiel appeared out of nowhere with a sinister smile. She channeled her magic, unleashing a deadly strike towards him. In-Chang screamed in terror. Junji immediately charged FO. Her attacks were easily neutralized. Rubiel twirled her dagger with skillful precision, then continued her brutal and relentless assault. This time, In-Chang began to feel exhausted. She retreated, putting some distance between them. Rubiel stopped atop the skyscraper, a scornful smirk playing on her lips, her demeanor arrogant and mocking. In-Chang's eyes flared crimson, enraged by Rubiel's haughty arrogance. Junji stood by, witnessing the brief but intense confrontation, worry gnawing at him. He thought, she's too strong. In-Chang might not be able to. He decided he had to help her. There was no other way. As if sensing his intention, In-Chang spoke. Go. Leave this to me. Junji urgently warned. That's no ordinary goblin. Frankly, she looks completely overwhelmed. There were things he still didn't know. In-Chang began to awaken her own mana. A brilliant purple aura enveloped her sword. The wound on her arm was suddenly bathed in a soft, warm light. Then it gradually healed as if it had never been injured. Jungu, witnessing this, was utterly astonished. Her wound was miraculously healing itself. The mana surrounding her grew stronger and more intense. This isn't over. I have completed the Dragon Blood Pill. I came to Korea first and hunted relentlessly. Amidst the gloomy darkness, a dazzling light erupted like a glimmer of hope. His eyes widened in astonishment. This was the legendary hero. In-Chang was encased in impenetrable armor, the one who destroyed the evil demons, whose fame resonated across the world. The Dragon Slayer, 6 Freeze. The look in her eyes suddenly changed. She let out a breath, relieved. An extraordinary hero was born in that fateful moment. The instant In-Chang transformed into a sick freak. A massive surge of energy erupted in the sky above In-Chang, painting the heavens crimson. A blinding blue light suddenly appeared, completely absorbing the terrifying purple aura. And then an earth-shattering explosion roared, sending a devastating shockwave across the entire area. The powerful aftershock rippled outwards, shaking the surrounding buildings. Junji, with a look of exhilaration, sensed the intense energy. Extraordinary, he exclaimed. That's Graham, although incomplete. It's the same technique that once destroyed the Demon King's dragon. In-Chang's sword plunged into the ground, sending countless blue sparks scattering in all directions. He let out a bright, proud smile. She's truly matured. She surpassed all my expectations and become much stronger. I think I can trust her and move forward. Running continuously, finally arriving at the destination. The skyscraper remained silent and peaceful, as if nothing had happened. Standing before the massive, imposing gate, adorned with intricate and mysterious carvings, Junji tightly clenched his fists, trying to sense the ruler of In-Chang hidden within. Ju's eyes suddenly sharpened, becoming unusually serious, and at that moment, the system unexpectedly issued a notification. Bone Spirit Soul Reaver has been activated. The skull-shaped bracelet continuously absorbed the surrounding magical energy, filling him with silent excitement as he observed the bone spirit soul reaver. Just in time. Now I just need to name it and awaken it. Suddenly, he sensed something strange and quickly looked up. The door ahead was emitting violent lightning bolts, putting even Junji on high alert. He guessed that the ruler, the one possessing this swambald of magical energy, was deliberately trying to suppress him. Unknowingly, he had stepped inside and heard Air's greeting. He frowned, intentionally emphasizing the P. This left June completely bewildered and confused. A warrior from another world. What were their intentions? Could this overwhelming magic power be a trial within Sao? With that thought, he erupted with a powerful energy, his aura soaring. Fine, let's test our strength. And quickly overpowered RF's immense magical flow. The green aura immediately retreated back to its owner, leaving him stunned and speechless. June smirked at his opponent's shocked expression. Why are you so surprised? Did you think I couldn't overcome a trivial challenge like this? These words infuriated Arev, causing him to roar. Are you an AI? This question only deepened June's confusion. Waves of magic continued to surge between them. Finally, sovereign of Anfam, ruler of the majestic Greenwood. I ask you once more, who are you? Zhang Jiayong's eyebrow arched in amusement as he realized his opponent had the same intention as him. He was about to ask that very question, but the other guy beat him to the punch. Should he tease him a little? Zhang Jiayong's silence was more than RF could bear. He growled, based on information gathered from those I've eliminated, there are no beings like you among the warriors of this world. But you're similar to them. The Muspelheim spear, a symbol of destructive power, materialized in Zhang Jiayong's hand. Intense flames radiated from the spear, more powerful than ever before. What do you mean? I don't understand what you're saying. An arrow of green light slowly formed in response to RF's words. My kingdom was ravaged and erased from the map by them. The green light arrow fully materialized as he questioned suspiciously. Are you one of them? RF's face was almost entirely shrouded in shadow, only his eyes glowing with rage. Answer me behind that confident facade. Are you truly? Is even June Jiayong feeling the immense pressure of facing such a powerful foe? The group approached a city that seemed to have maintained a sense of peace. Since the catastrophe struck, Seoul appeared to be relatively unscathed by the disaster, with people evacuating in an orderly and organized fashion. Citizens began the emergency evacuation process. Those individuals possessing mana abilities naturally wouldn't stand idly by. The hunters, were striving to contain the ferocious monsters pouring out from the ruptured dimensional gates, shattered and broken. They were preparing to reclaim the lands lost during the Great Catastrophe. And now, of course, a visit to the towering skyscraper of the renowned Hunter Association was a must. Inside the chairman's lavishly decorated and meticulously arranged office, Banner unexpectedly stood up and declared, Asgard will participate fully and proactively this time. He expressed his decision with a stern expression that forbade any objection. Currently, Thorin has completely lost contact, and we don't have any leads. I will lead this mission, but the dilemma lies in the fact that most members of Asgard are hunters possessing extraordinary power, and therefore, they all harbor a rebellious mindset, disobeying orders. Why did Banner take the initiative to speak up in this situation? Although he is a skilled hunter, the truth is, no matter how dissatisfied they are, Banner still spoke up, adhering to proper procedure. Does anyone have any objections? The entire group could only grit their teeth and bear it in silence, because no one else was capable enough. Leadership skills or political strategy to persuade others to follow him. In fact, Kanggu was the first to voice his agreement. Whatever. Seo Yun also just went with the flow. I agree. Next was Du Hyun, who had just expressed his dissatisfaction. Immediately said, I agree with Taejun. Same here. The question was merely a formality, so Banner quickly continued. Odin had made preparations for unforeseen circumstances like this, and I must say, the current situation is even more serious than initially anticipated. We must act quickly. As soon as he finished, Kanggu immediately summoned his weapon. Just tell us where to go. All we know how to do is fight. The resolute statement left Banner completely speechless, not knowing how to respond. How could Odin? Is it even possible to strategize, let alone coordinate effectively with these incompetent fools? Frustrated, he began to contemplate an alternative solution. Perhaps I should shift the focus, he mused aloud. Does anyone have any idea where Geo is currently? The image of a powerful, imposing figure, hammer in hand, flashed through his mind. Though not officially a member of Asgard, the lone wolf warrior, Geo was considered Korea's ultimate weapon, unmatched in power. He left Seoul on a mission from the great Odin himself. If he were to join forces with us, victory would be all but assured. The others in the group pondered for a moment before responding. Well, from the very beginning, he's solely focused on top-secret missions, and Odin placed immense trust in him. Because he doesn't officially belong to Asgard, his activities are completely off the record. Suddenly, the chairman's office door bursts open. Do-hyun frowns, irritation clear on his face. That's an AI. Another AI has appeared. Tae-jun explodes in anger, veins bulging on his forehead. Who dares to interrupt a meeting of the top hunters? The strongest in the world? The figure steps inside. To everyone's surprise, Baru recognizes the newcomer. Ah, he's here. Powerful energy radiates from his body. Still in top form, I see. Hyojin's entrance is met with a shocking declaration. My son. Do-hyun jumps, sweat pouring down his face. What? That's Odin. Odin's killing intent intensifies. The others are stunned by the greeting. Wait, Baru is Odin's son? Baru's darkening expression shows his displeasure at the statement. The Hunter Association skyscraper gleams under the sunlight. A gaping hole now marred the sturdy wooden wall, a stark reminder of the fierce battle. Tables and stacks of documents lay scattered across the cold floor. Amidst the chaos of the room, only Banner remained. The young man was lost in silence, his face pensive, as if pondering something profound. The great Odin had resurfaced, and in doing so, revealed a secret he had once sworn to keep hidden, a secret that should have remained buried forever. Memories of Hyojin and his echoing voice suddenly flooded Banner's mind. My son. Banner's hands clenched into fists. A tormenting question arose within him. What am I even fighting for? Even before becoming a hunter, I've always had to strive so hard. Banner leaned back, resting against the chair, because I was just a castaway, left behind, to earn recognition from the father, who remained indifferent to me, no matter how many hardships I overcame, no matter what I accomplished. Father never breathed a word about my origins, but his eyes narrowed, irritation flashing across his face as he was forced to speak. What's the meaning of this? Banner shot up from his chair, anxiety churning within him. I don't want things to go back to the way they were. Damn it. A sudden knock echoed through the room, making him jump. But I didn't sense anyone approaching. It was none other than Hyojin, slowly entering the room, and Banner didn't seem surprised by his appearance. Just as I expected, Hyojin smiled, using the familiar term once more. My son. The words only made Banner's brows furrow deeper. Is this how you truly want to acknowledge me? Banner's face fell as he spoke. I don't want this kind of recognition. Hyojin stepped closer to Banner and said softly, I understand your pain and what you're going through. Then, abruptly, he placed a hand on Banner's shoulder. He jolted, eyes wide with surprise. They stared at each other intently, the air thick with tension as the man continued. Although you haven't met all my expectations, I have never blamed you. He could clearly feel the warmth in the man's voice, the affectionate hand on his shoulder. Certainty bloomed in his chest. This was Odin, his father, but his mind refused to accept this unbelievable truth. Beyondio's expression was a mask of confusion and anxiety. He'd lost the composure and decisiveness he usually displayed in important meetings. Suddenly, he mumbled, I can't understand the chairman's true intentions. Hearing this, Hyojin just smiled faintly and offered a thorough explanation. True intentions? As I said before, I want to formally acknowledge you as my son. I've also considered naming you my sole heir, if you can prove your abilities are worthy of the position. These words only intensified his confusion and bewilderment, but mixed within was an indescribable joy. Isn't the successor position practically decided already? Isn't Odin his father's heir? That was always just a foolish dream of mine. Hyunjin suddenly tightened his grip on his shoulder. That's why I have a favor to ask of you. The abrupt statement and cryptic words shattered the previously warm atmosphere. To compensate for what I lack, become a leader. Hyunjin's eyes shone with determination as he stared intently at it. Will you do it? The direct question left him even more confused. A leader? A leader of what? Still, he responded, please give me time to think. Before he could say anything more, Hyun-jin cupped his face in his hands. His eyes now held a calculating glint. Give me your answer now. I need you. The next words hit him like a bombshell. I need your sacrifice. Leaving him speechless, he blurted out, Father. The man's smile stretched from ear to ear, both friendly and ominous, as he emphasized the words, my son. Suddenly, a brilliant beam of light appeared in the sky, hurtling towards the Hunter Association building. Meanwhile, on a crowded bridge, everyone looked up at a giant purple cage of light. Wonho, with a serious expression, tapped on the barrier and said, this is a shield. Nowhere else can prevent a disaster as completely as Seoul can. His voice dropped. After you leave here, you may never return to the safety of Seoul again. If anyone wants to stay, feel free. Hansa just laughed and replied, what are you talking about? Even if they aren't my family, they're my friend's family. Of course I have to go help them. The others agreed. Right? If it weren't for him, we wouldn't be alive right now. The person beside me also said that. If only we survived, it wouldn't be a good thing. Feria solemnly continued. We have to find Junying. Maybe Hyunwoo is starting to miss him. We need to see Master. Another AI stepped forward. It was Yunyul, asserting firmly, I think we all feel the same way. Hwan smiled at everyone's agreement. I'm so lucky to have you all as friends, she exclaimed. I'm sorry. Look, they're all ready to move forward. These absolutely loyal people. People willing to face any danger to protect that AI. They are the ones I've always longed to have by my side. Electric currents surged throughout his body. Let's overcome this challenge together. Many hands pushed with all their might against the barrier. A sudden opening appeared, creating an escape route. He turned and declared resolutely, now let's go. Suddenly, a terrified voice interrupted him. Impossible. Feria immediately turned his sharp gaze towards the sound. For at that moment, in the heart of magnificent Seoul, a brilliant golden light burst forth in the sky. The light spread with incredible speed as if to engulf the entire area. A powerful barrier was being shattered. A golden dome, riddled with holes, appeared before everyone's eyes. Back at the door adorned with Eric's intricate patterns, he threw out a question without giving Jungyo a moment to answer. I'm asking you, are you in league with those dark creatures? His entire body tensed as he focused on the arrow's trajectory. It was hurtling towards him with terrifying speed. And then he bravely stopped the arrow with his bare hands without hesitation. The arrow's power was immense, knocking him back a considerable distance. But he also easily snapped it in half like a dry twig. For some unknown reason, Erev declared with certainty, so you're not one of us. Jun Jiayong's hands were now stained with fresh blood, as if severely burned, blistered, and aching. But a cryptic smile spread across his face, impossible to decipher as benevolent or malicious. Even if you possess their energy source, you are not one of them. Jun Jiayong coldly retorted, Huh? Are you talking about the protectors? Eric feigned confusion. Protectors? You call them protectors? Jun Jiayong pondered silently. The rulers, who govern certain territories that emerged after the Great Upheaval. Only the Demon King can destroy them. Countless questions flooded Jun Jiayong's mind. Why in this world is only the Demon King capable of killing them? He muttered questioningly. He got straight to the point, demanding more information. Are you a guardian? He summoned countless sharp arrows, suspending them in midair. A guardian? Are you asking if I'm one of them? Those who lurk in the shadows? RF answered decisively. I'm not one of them. But I almost became one. He continued to wield his power. But now, I'm not so sure. Countless streams of green light enveloped the surrounding space. A terrifying power radiated intensely. He laughed maniacally. If I devour you, perhaps I truly will become one of them. With that, a volley of arrows shot forward. Junwoo gritted his teeth. Could he become a guardian by consuming him? He had also said that. He almost became one of them. He transformed into a blazing Muspelheim blade, ready to face the fight. I need to focus all my energy on this battle before me. I can't possibly deflect that massive volley of arrows. He brandished his spear, creating a raging inferno that engulfed the battlefield. Two earth-shattering forces collided, resulting in a cataclysmic explosion. Earth looked astonished. My arrows can't pierce his defensive shield. His flames are completely useless against my power. Jun etched his unwavering resolve. The identities of the patrons and the rulers that only the monarch can destroy. I need to gather more information. Without hesitation, he spoke. Have you encountered other hunters before? He replied quickly. You're quite strong. I've slaughtered countless who call themselves hunters. However, I'm not sure I would call those actual encounters. He didn't understand the meaning of his words. Are you saying I'm different? Am I different from other hunters? He nodded in agreement. You think you can compare yourself to the warriors of this pathetic human world? Monstrous spirits gradually materialized. Erebus calmly declared, You think I, ruler of the mighty kingdom of the Emerald Forest, would lower myself to speak with a mere warrior like you? It's because I recognize you as a worthy opponent. Unnoticed, countless spirit soldiers had appeared behind him. He was startled. Too many enemies. Erebus lightly waved his hand. You are a king, so instantly the monsters leaped forward, roaring as they charged. June shouted a command. I bestow upon you the name. Energy converged in the eye of the skull bracelet as he chanted the incantation. With the final words of the curse, cracks appeared on the skull. The bracelet shattered. An excited female spirit soared into the sky. Moments later, outside the ruined buildings, Rubiel collapsed amidst a pool of crimson blood staining the ground. The chilling scrape of a blade dragged across the cold pavement. Inkang gasped for breath, weary yet feeling stronger than before. Her eyes shone with unwavering determination. Power surged through her, giving her the confidence to protect herself with her own two hands. A sudden notification appeared. The charming prince looked at you with warm, affectionate eyes. Inkang smiled, a confident and satisfied grin spreading across her face. Suddenly, she sensed powerful energy converging around her. An unsettling unease filled her heart. It seemed Zhang Jiai's battle had officially begun. A sense of foreboding startled her. She channeled all her energy into the blade in her hand. A brilliant purple light enveloped her. Inkang looked down at her palms with a joyful expression. Wasn't he known as the immortal Redfrid? How could this be? All the wounds from the battle with the Dark Goblin were completely healed. Her hands clenched tight, a fierce hope ignited in her eyes. The distance between her and Jungyo had definitely been shortened considerably. I have to go. I have to help Jungyo. Moving towards the source of the strange energy she felt earlier, In-chang didn't hesitate. Is this where the battle is taking place? I have to get inside quickly. She pushed the door open with force and was instantly stunned by the sight before her. Waves of energy overlapped and intertwined. What is this? Countless spirits were clashing head-on with ferocious monsters. One monster raised a sharp sword, swinging it fiercely at a spirit. But surprisingly, the blade passed right through without causing any harm. The spirit roared in anger, lunging forward to bite the monster's shoulder. She watched the chaotic scene, sighing to herself, It's like living hell. Oh my god. Amidst the fierce battle between goblins and demons behind Jungyu, a deafening explosion suddenly erupted. She scanned her surroundings, trying to locate the source of the sound. What happened to him? I thought I'd gotten so much stronger, but the clash between him and Eric was truly intense. It left In-chang lost in thought. He surpassed me. I can't even interfere in this fight. A green energy engulfed the entire building, right in front of where the goblin stood. Its soul began to distort strangely. It vanished before the eyes of the other souls, leaving them utterly astonished. This phenomenon repeated itself with all the remaining goblins. They all turned towards the green orb Eric was gathering. In-chang gritted his teeth in extreme worry. The entire magical force of the goblin army was converging on him. An immense source of magical energy. Jungyu wondered if, within the emerald green sphere of energy, the form of a weapon gradually materialized. Eorium looked at the newly formed sword, a sinister grin spreading across his face. Cook. Jun's eyes lit up, recognizing the opportune moment. The spear in his hand erupted with a completely new energy. He spun around, the spear point fixed resolutely forward. System announcement. Skill Fire King has been upgraded. You have obtained Arcane. Jun thought to himself, Fire King, the skill I thought had reached its peak, impossible to become stronger after reaching the master level, has broken through. It's arcane again. I can't be certain what it means. He stomped his foot, the stone floor cracking and shattering. Jun launched his spear towards Eorium. Eorium braced himself, ready to parry the blow with his sword. Eorium swung his sword in a counterattack. The two weapons collided violently, sparks flying. They flashed past each other in a blink. The sharp blade pressed against Jun Ji's throat. Witnessing the suffocating scene, In Chong couldn't hold back a scream. Suddenly, a blinding azure explosion erupted from Jun Ji with incredible speed. Immediately, a similar emerald green explosion appeared on the opposite side. The two terrifying energies collided and overlapped, creating a devastating shockwave that shook the entire surroundings. Air, exhausted and severely wounded, coughed up fresh blood. He was impaled by a spear pinned against the wall. Amidst the chaos, Jun Ji landed on the opposite side. Amazingly, he was completely unharmed. Still in shock, he muttered, "I am the king of Alfred." Jun Ji calmly interrupted, "It's a shame. If I were fighting alone, I wouldn't have been able to stop you. Even a powerful monarch, ruling a mighty kingdom, cannot overcome the resentment of the souls. You have murdered." He paused for a moment, then delivered the final blow. "In the end, you were defeated by your own karma." The souls dissolved into countless tiny specks of light. Swirling around RFs soared like a galaxy of stars. Faint whispers of gratitude echoed. "Thank you. We are eternally grateful." His face was shrouded in darkness, his expression vacant, utterly devoid of life. "One day they came to me." June observed him intently, falling into deep thought. The crazed, haunting look in his eyes was completely gone. He decided to get straight to the point. "They're here? Are you talking about the ones who sponsored SAO?" He pointed a finger at June. "If it's who I think you're referring to, then yes." Aref lifted his head, his eyes filled with a pensive look. "Alfheim was unified under my rule, after a long and brutal war. And the years of peace and prosperity that followed left me in deep contemplation. It's similar to Earth's history. You could say everything became peaceful under unified Eden. However, the virtual reality within it had long since decayed and crumbled." Air continued slowly, his voice heavy with burden. "They set foot in a world that had become stagnant, frozen in a peace that stretched to the point of suffocation. And they, the outsiders, were nothing less than prophesied saviors." He recalled the past, his voice filled with resentment. They created a new enemy for us, a connection to other dimensions." Jun Jiang furrowed his brow in confusion. "A new enemy? What do you mean? When you speak of a connection to other dimensions?" He repeated. He explained, his voice broken. "War, dimensional war. If we win, we will become gods." Irev's head slumped down as he finished speaking. Jun Jiang was silent, his eyes fixed on Irev. He realized that life had completely left his body. He's dead. I can't feel anything from him anymore." In Chong stepped forward from behind, calling out, "Jun Jiang." The system suddenly displayed several new notifications. "The apocalypse sky seems to be smiling contentedly as it watches you. The supreme revelation craves a sacrifice. Do you wish to stop this ritual?" He gasped. "A sacrifice?" "It's talking about the king of Alfred, Seo." His sudden outburst left In Jang bewildered. "Wait." He summoned Hio, a spirit materializing gradually. Hio appeared, surprising both In Jang and his master. She exclaimed in terror, "A ghost." "Seo." He teased her with a smile. "You've seen ghosts before. Why react like this now?" "This is my new body." He looked up at the sky. "What you want is his body and power, correct?" Hio flew towards RF's corpse. "It's done." A notification popped up. "Sacrifice successful." RF's body instantly vanished into thin air. A series of notifications appeared. "Achievement unlocked. High Priest. The supreme revelation rewards you." June was startled. That's RF's sword." It didn't disappear. The young man quickly grasped the hilt of the sword. A system notification immediately appeared. "You have obtained Miss Stilltime." He was lost in thought. So this is the weapon of the legendary Alfheim king, used in that fateful final attack. First, I need to store in my inventory. The apocalyptic sky seemed to smile with satisfaction, revealing terrifying blood-red teeth. Jun Ji directly ordered Hio to retrieve the sword. "How long do you think it will take?" he asked. Hio replied, "Since this is a soul still bound by many earthly attachments, I think it will take a considerable amount of time." The young man gave a faint smile. "It doesn't matter how long it takes. Extract all of his memories. Don't miss a single thing." Hio laughed excitedly. "Understood." The city lay in ruins, a desolate landscape of rubble. The two of them stood silently in the middle of the street, surrounded by scattered debris. In Jong breathed a sigh of relief, jokingly saying, "Geez, I almost peed my pants." June turned to her with a slight smile. "You've witnessed souls in battle before. Why react like this now?" she retorted. It was just really intense back then. He pressed his lips together, thinking about the Demon King and Eden. His train of thought seemed to have wandered far. Do they know about the true existence of the sponsors? They just don't record it. Or are they intentionally ignoring it, pretending not to know? Most likely, the hunters who have faced the rulers already know the secret of the sponsors. Stopping his train of thought, he urged, we should go. Even though he stopped them, I still feel uneasy. The city scene transitioned, revealing a different landscape, with even more devastating images. Monster corpses lay scattered amidst the rubble. Song-Gu's CEO squad had just finished a fierce battle with the creatures. Suddenly, he sensed something was different. Looking up, he saw the two of them returning. You're back, he exclaimed. Junyu joked playfully. You look terrible. Not to be outdone, Hyung-wook retorted sarcastically. You don't look so good yourself. But you defeated the Overlord, right? He asked doubtfully. Junyu nodded in response. Cheers erupted, welcoming their return. Their comrades rushed towards them excitedly. The weakest is the strongest. Everything's truly all right now. Song-Gu remained vigilant. The monsters will keep coming. We can't let our guard down. Hyung-wook agreed. Right, but at least they won't be as dangerous as before. Suddenly, Song-Gu noticed something that made him freeze. In his palm, a shimmering, multicolored sphere gradually coalesced, gathering energy at a single point. The boy instantly recognized the strange object. The frost stone, he exclaimed, clutching the gem in his palm, concealing the ethereal light emanating from it. He quickly informed the boy of the situation. A message from the outside world suddenly appeared. The boy anxiously asked, hoping for good news. Good news, right? He hesitated, silent for a moment. His voice heavy, he finally spoke. It seems the catastrophe has begun in Seoul. Hearing the dreadful news, Jun Jiang and Incheon couldn't hide the horror on their faces. The catastrophe in Seoul? I predicted Seoul would be affected too, but everything happened so fast. He appeared urgent, needing some privacy. I need a quiet place to contact them. We'll talk later. The boy nodded in agreement. All right. After the grueling battle, they returned to the safety of their apartment. Jun Jiang voiced the questions weighing on his mind. Seoul is engulfed in flames? If a disaster has struck Seoul, shouldn't there be plenty of hunters protecting it? Not to mention the heroes from Asgard. Why is the damage so severe? Director Go cautiously shared the rumors circulate. People are saying that Asgard's strongest hunters have vanished without a trace. He and Jinwoo gasped in shock. What? No way. The situation gradually became clearer. A sudden disaster erupted, monsters overflowing everywhere, coupled with the mysterious disappearance of the leaders. Those remaining are struggling to control the situation. But because everything happened so suddenly, Seoul has become a living hell. Jinwoo still placed his faith in the strength of the hunters. Asgard hunters? Here? Well, there's some good news. Even without Asgard, Korea's guilds are still powerful. As long as these heroes remain, Seoul will stand strong, not easily subdued. Song-Gu suddenly revealed another crucial piece of information he possessed. Yes, but I have more news, he said gravely. And I'm afraid it's not good for either you or Incheon. Both men listened intently, anxiety etched on their faces. Song-Gu delivered the devastating news. I've heard that the White Tiger Guild has completely vanished, including Yunyeo. Incheon's face paled, fear evident in his eyes. Even the usually stoic Junjung couldn't hide his shock. The conversation continued for a considerable time, but eventually, they had to put aside their worries to continue fighting for the immediate goal. They had to stand together and help everyone. Slowly, life was returning to Incheon. Brave hunters pushed back the ferocious monsters. The dark, magical energy that had enveloped everything began to dissipate. The city gradually regained its inherent peace and tranquility. The gloomy magic that had once filled the air was fading, giving way to light. After the collapse of RF, the leader of bustling port city, Incheon, has returned. The people are united and supporting each other in the reconstruction effort. Everyone is contributing, no matter how small, to the common good. Don't be shy, have some more. Everyone, come and get your share of food. After hours of tireless work, a close-knit group of young people gathered together to share a simple meal. I heard a rumor that the person who saved us was an outcast. Even Red Star Frit was there. Life is slowly returning to normal. Everyone has found hope and a renewed zest for life. He stood silently by the large window, observing everything happening outside. Like Jun Ji-hyung's group, the people who saved their lives, he anxiously searched for any information. He reported somberly, his voice heavy. We've completely lost contact with Seoul. Therefore, Incheon is only receiving fragmented news from other areas. I will do my best to get the latest information. So, to summarize everything so far, it seems this disaster is spreading throughout Korea. What's your next plan? You're still lost in thought, even without us here. Incheon will definitely remain safe. I need to decide where we should go. Seoul and other areas. Where should we head to? Suddenly, the door bursts open. Inti has returned. I'm back. He quickly asks about the situation outside. What's the status of the energy leak? She calmly reports in detail. The energy barrier leading to Seoul is being reinforced. It's much stronger now. I don't think it's possible to get inside now. On the other hand, the energy barriers in other areas are much weaker than before. Hearing this news, he becomes even more worried. Getting into Seoul will be extremely difficult. We might be able to get past the blockade using Bifrost's abilities, but if we do that, Bifrost's powers will be weakened for a certain amount of time, and we'll lose our only means of communication with the outside world. However, it seems you haven't completely given up on this idea. First, print out this document. Continue to closely monitor Professor Chan's condition for the next few days. I agree with you. Jun Jiang continued to assign tasks. Song Guhaiyang at any cost. Locate the White Tiger and Yunil teams. I don't have any other options either. Roger. Back in downtown Songnam, the attacks continue relentlessly. People are forced to evacuate in sheer panic. My God, get inside. Hurry, hurry. The courageous hunter worked tirelessly to save as many lives as possible. This way, everyone, he shouted, as he strained to lead the people to safety. A ferocious monster suddenly appeared. It lunged towards him, its massive, fanged maw wide open. In the blink of an eye, the monster swallowed him whole. Blood splattered, staining the surroundings crimson. After finishing off their prey, the horde of monsters continued dispersing the search parties. Track the next target. The war escalated, growing more intense and brutal by the hour. From above, Banner silently observed the chaotic scene below. Energy surged within him, building and expanding relentlessly. His eyes glowed a fiery, blood red. Immense power thrummed beneath his skin, threatening to erupt. Outside the window, a colossal monster with vast wings unleashed torrents of scorching fire, incinerating everything in its path. Unable to bear witness to the devastation any longer, Banner swiftly drew the curtains closed, shutting himself off from the chaotic world outside. He slowly walked towards his desk. A cryptic smile crept onto his lips. A soft chuckle escaped him. Good. The association's presidency seemed firmly within his grasp. Ultimate power would soon be his. A sharp glint, like lightning, flashed in his eyes, illuminating the room. That flash expanded, forming a massive electrical grid, ensnaring and imprisoning all who dared to oppose him. Trapped inside, he was completely powerless to resist. The smile on BMDO's face became increasingly twisted and grotesque, filled with dark ambition and sinister plots. Back at the base, everything was back under Jun Jiam's control. A week after the disastrous defeat of a PART7, Jun Jiam had quickly quelled the monsters rampaging in Incheon. Life in Incheon gradually returned to its former peace. The door swung open. Inside the quiet room, he and Incheon were still deep in discussion. Seoul had been completely locked down, isolated from the outside world. No one knew what was happening inside the besieged city. Her face was etched with worry and frustration. This is so frustrating. I wonder how Yunil is doing. He gently comforted her. They're safe. Don't worry too much. Don't worry. I bet Hyunmoo and Hwan Ui are with them. Her eyes fell on the sword in his hand, her expression questioning. Information about the sword suddenly appeared. This is a trophy I got after defeating the Incheon commander. It's like Songgu's Bifrost and Rio's lightning blade. This is a demonic treasure. The young man inquired. Aunt, have you gleaned anything from it? The woman shook her head. No, I haven't found any valuable clues. The young man then shared the little information he possessed. I only know that the spiritual energy emanating from it is incredibly powerful, not to be underestimated. Is that all? It's spiritual energy. It's similar to the energy within the Frost secret realm. Indra Jang exclaimed in astonishment. Truly remarkable. It surely must have a specific purpose. The young man gazed intently at the sword in his hand, lost in thought. To refine the spiritual power from the Tuanmu not translated because lack of context. I've tried Dragon Heart, Dragon Bloodstone, even the Muspelheim Spear, but all have failed. There must be a method. Suddenly, the necklace around the young man's neck began to glow. The young man removed the necklace, Merlin's necklace. A voice echoed from within. "Can you hear me?" Startled, the young man realized it was the AI. Quickly, he stored the sword in his spatial storage. He answered hurriedly. "Merlin, Merlin," she repeated continuously. "Merlin, the signal from his necklace is unstable. The connection is intermittent. I have a theory. There might be a problem with Merlin's necklace." June offered. Junkie turned, his eyes scanning their surroundings. "What's going on? Why is the connection flickering like this?" "It's so strange," Kang exclaimed. "This is puzzling. What are you looking for?" "It seems like you found the root of the problem, haven't you?" Without hesitation, he immediately summoned his sword, gripping it tightly. The signal from the pendant became noticeably more stable. "Can you hear me?" A firm voice responded immediately. "Loud and clear, Mr. Ten," he replied with satisfaction. Finally connected, Ten began to explain his situation. "My necklace malfunctioned, but it's fine now. By the way, Han, how are things on your end?" Ten asked, taking the opportunity to check in. He secretly rejoiced. Xiangu spoke. "The link to Europe has been severed, but fortunately, thanks to Ms. Titan, we can still listen in on the Olympus Assembly meeting." The voice on the other end revealed the situation was more complicated than anticipated, encountering significant obstacles. The current situation was far more dangerous and difficult than they had foreseen. The entire city was on complete lockdown. But fortunately, thanks to the timely warning, the council had been able to implement appropriate countermeasures. The young man breathed a sigh of relief upon hearing the news. That was fortunate. However, the other side suddenly announced some critical news. It seemed there was a serious incident concerning Olympus. They said they couldn't find Thor. June's eyes widened in disbelief. His face was etched with utter astonishment. The god who possessed power, rivaling Odin, was missing. The monotonous voice on the other end continued amidst the chaotic storm of information. But there was still no sign of Thor. They were completely baffled. So much for England. We'll arrange a meeting with Olympus. The sudden disconnection infuriated him. Damn it, lost the connection again. It's all Olympus's fault. A powerful guild, as impenetrable as Asgard, suddenly vanishes without a trace. Two seasoned hunters, Odin and Set, were they ever truly aligned in their goals? Jun Jung slowly unravels the mystery, uncovering the puppet master behind it all. Pulling the strings is the ruthless Demon King. What is his true objective? What sinister plot is he brewing? Time and space shift, transporting us to a bustling, crowded area. A throng of people, filled with hope, patiently await the next bus, yearning to return to the comfort of their homes. The driver's call breaks the silence. "Everyone, please keep a close eye on your belongings." They chat excitedly amongst themselves. "We're here. Those monsters are weak, easy to handle." "That's so annoying to hear." The young men share information. "Seems like around 500 new hunters join. After that disaster, the sponsors are really looking out for us. So the AI is getting more advanced too." Jun Jung, congratulations. "Well done," he immediately replied. "This success is largely thanks to you. Even you can't deny that. Only by acknowledging this can we leave for other places with peace of mind." Hearing that he was about to leave, his face fell. "Where are you going?" "Surely there are many other places besides Incheon that need help. Are you going to Seoul?" "Your goal is to go to the places that need you most. Seoul has the highest concentration of powerful hunters. They can take care of themselves. We're going to Gangmyeong. There are a few people we need to meet." After saying goodbye, he turned and said to his teammates, "Let's go." Kang and Songgu were ready and waiting for his command. A ghostly figure gradually materialized behind him. Hyo bowed respectfully and replied, "As you command, sir." Kang still seemed unable to get used to this sight. She gaped in astonishment. You'd think she'd be used to this by now. Still not used to it. She scratched her head, embarrassed. "No, sir." A sudden sob echoed from behind, making the girl feel suspicious and curious. Turning around, she saw that the sob came from Seo, the old man with a weathered face, looking at her with a cautious and anxious expression. Witnessing this scene, she couldn't help but burst into laughter. He reached up and touched his bald head, trying to stifle his laughter, but to no avail. "Hey, stop laughing." The girl feigned suspicion. "I can't believe you're afraid of ghosts too. In Jang is one thing. Why would I be afraid of ghosts?" He retorted. "What do you know about my past to say that?" "This is what they call a past trauma," the girl teased. Past trauma. It seemed to be a haunting past story for him. "I don't remember clearly either. It happened when I was a child. But before I became a ghost hunter, A ghost appeared and said something to me. Since then, I've been very afraid of them. The ghost I saw was similar to the one just now, but it was invisible and wore a coat. I'm really afraid of ghosts. Injang, do you feel the same way? Something similar happened to me once. This guy's teasing Injang. You must have been really timid as a child. She shot him a warning look. Look at this old man acting like a kid. He quickly defended himself. Just kidding, haha. Listening to their stories, he suddenly realized something. Wait a minute. These unbelievable coincidences, they all involve me. Why are all these strange things happening to people around me? And the ghosts they see, they all have this one thing in common. Why do I suddenly have this strange feeling? On two parallel bridges, with endless streams of traffic flowing back and forth, their only commonality lies in the middle, separated by a mysterious wall of light. A hand reaches out, tentatively touching it. It seems impenetrable, more like a form of concentrated energy. The person conducting the experiment is none other than Zhang Jiang. He stared intently at his hand, then offered a theory. I think getting past the barrier around Seoul is going to be incredibly difficult. Inchang nodded, acknowledging the grim truth. The magical energy forming the barrier is astonishingly powerful. We can't sense anything happening inside. Faced with this strange situation, Song-gu couldn't help but wonder. The barrier seems to be getting stronger over time. This is puzzling. Why is this happening? The three huddled closer together to discuss. He added, it's natural for the barrier to strengthen, but it should have stabilized after a certain period. She suddenly voiced the question plaguing everyone's thoughts. What is that barrier, anyway? Junji calmly offered a theoretical analysis. This barrier acts like a gate. The stronger the barrier, the more magical energy it contains. Song-gu pondered the recent string of unusual events. You mean, could all of this be connected to those monsters and the powerful beings hiding within them? How can you be so sure? I am. Do you have a suggestion? We need to go through Gangnam before heading back. Myong, have you tried contacting anyone there? He hesitated for a moment before answering. They don't have anyone powerful enough to, but there's still a branch of the association in that area. Let's try it, CEO. Despite the difficult situation, he remained optimistic. All right, at least the barrier is still holding. There are no signs of a ruler in Gangnam. Hearing that, In-chong breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. I was worried about Yinul's group. Let's go find them. Outside, a scene of utter devastation unfolded before their eyes. Traffic signals and street lights, long inactive, were swallowed by the darkness. Shattered concrete and debris lay scattered everywhere. Towering buildings, heavily damaged, had collapsed. Jun Jiang and his two companions stood frozen, stunned by the desolate scene. Suddenly, something caught his attention. A large horde of monsters lurked, waiting for prey. Like predators, they lay in wait, anticipating their victims stumbling into their trap. Their blood-red eyes glowed with a terrifying thirst, a truly horrifying sight. Savage roars echoed through the air, shattering the eerie silence. Suddenly, a fiery tornado erupted from thin air, engulfing the entire area in a sea of flames. The monsters were incinerated in an instant, without a chance to utter a sound. Injang scratched his head, his surprised expression undeniable. Although it wasn't the first time he'd witnessed such a spectacle, but this scene was still horrifying. Even without the ruler's presence, the monsters were relentlessly scouring every corner. Suddenly, Mr. Gu's sharp eyes darted in another direction. This time, a completely different type of monster appeared. They swarmed in like a massive colony of ants. Mr. Gu focused his energy into the weapon in his hand, preparing for battle. They're as numerous as the Yuan army, Mr. Gu exclaimed. Jun Jiang wasn't idle either. His pupils glowed a fiery red as he called out a name. A voice responded almost immediately. Your command. In a flash, countless azure vines coiled around the hairy legs of the monster. The moment it sensed danger, its entire body was bound in a tight grip. The other monsters suffered the same fate. One by one, they were pulled into deep, dark pits, created by a mysterious force. After completing the task, a deep, steady voice reported the situation. Your subordinate has completed the mission as instructed. What remains is only faint smoke and the cratered scars on the ground. Scars etched deeply across the landscape. The scene was so impressive that Song-gu and In-chong simultaneously exclaimed in admiration. Incredible! It seems our turn might not even be necessary. However, every action has its price. Jun-jong sighed wearily. The mana expenditure was immense. But thankfully, you're safe. Head to the Gangnam Hunter Association. He sped through the desolate streets. Crumbling buildings leaned precariously, as if long forgotten. It's just like the area we just left, In Chong observed. It seems the hunters here couldn't withstand this disaster. I don't detect any signs of life, Song-gu said worriedly. His mind was a tangled mess. Some time had passed since the disaster struck. Despite not seeing any sign of the ruler or gangmi, he couldn't shake the feeling of unease. He quickly recognized a discrepancy, a glaring contradiction. Even though catastrophe had fallen, everything felt strangely off. The absence of any living being was unsettling, especially with the ruler nowhere to be found. Use mana to check the magical flow, he thought to himself. Countless flashes of lightning sparked in his mind, like some kind of cryptic signal. Finally, those flashes led him to the answer. A slight smirk played on his lips. I see it now. He turned to share the news with his two companions. I've found traces of life. Someone deliberately erased all signs of human life here. CEO Gu struggled to contain his astonishment. I didn't sense anything. He calmly asked where. The boy pointed his finger in a direction, and upon closer inspection, a faint, invisible barrier could be seen, shimmering in the distance. In Chong started to piece things together. So that's how it is. I can't sense anything, but I feel like something's not right over there. He followed the boy's gaze, half believing, half doubtful. Could it be a trap to lure us in? But for her, this was a crucial clue. But if that's the case, there's still hope. The boy's argument became even more convincing with solid evidence. That's right. If this is a trap, it means the predators are still alive. And they're trying to protect something. The only one unaffected by others' opinions was Song-gu. No one could know for sure, and this mystery piqued his curiosity. What's wrong? It seems like you're hiding something, beating around the bush like that. Could they be protecting someone? A vague thought flickered in Jinwa's mind. It can't be. Could it be him? After reaching an agreement, the three decided to venture deeper into the protective barrier to assess the situation. The princess suddenly popped her head out of Jin Shiol's hood as she continuously wondered aloud. To create a trap on this scale, that hunter must be incredibly skilled. Before her was a horde of completely disoriented monsters. The monsters outside, they don't seem to notice our presence inside. So there's a reason why they haven't eliminated these monsters. Seo Yugu pondered thoughtfully. It's as if they're willing to abandon everyone, except for those they're protecting. We can't be certain yet. But could it really be him? Zhang Yuntai led the way, calmly observing and assessing. At least we know who's behind this trap. He never intended to save the innocent people of Gangnam. The young man immediately agreed. I'm of the same opinion. He suddenly froze, every movement still. Half of his face turned back, just in time to hear a skeptical question. A question that cut straight to the point. Could this be someone you know? He didn't hide his thoughts, but hesitated to confirm. There's someone I'm thinking of. But it's too early to draw conclusions. The three of them were completely unaware that two young men were secretly watching their every move from a safe distance. High above, the presence of Jun Jiang and Song-gu stood out amongst the crowd. Youngji's face darkened. Damn it, that's Hunter Song-gu and Underdog. The person beside him panicked. What do we do? On the other side, the two young men quickly noticed the presence of the suspicious group. As a hunter, I can sense their presence. His eyes sharpened, more focused than ever, witnessing the scene before him. Countless questions began to surface in his keen mind. Even though they've spotted us, they haven't made a move yet. What's going on? What are they waiting for? Yinji and Seo Yun, without hesitation, leaped from the rooftop of the tall building. Zhang Haiyan and Song-gu seemed to have anticipated this, not showing any surprise at their sudden action. Both solemnly spoke, asking, You are Song-gu and Underdog, correct? Their gaze was intense, but their demeanor was friendly and open. We will lead the way. The five walked silently down the deserted street, not a soul in sight. A scene of desolation unfolded before them. This place seems completely untouched by that horrific disaster. Jun Jiayong finally voiced the question that had been on his mind, testing the waters. You both seemed quite surprised to see us here. Eunji broke out in a nervous sweat, forcing a laugh. Oh, hi. Fortunately, Sukjin quickly jumped in to save his companion. It's just, we didn't expect to run into anyone here, in a place like this. Speaking of which, the car. Mr. Gu recounted the horrors he had witnessed before entering this place. Monsters are everywhere out there. Sukjin glanced down, searching for a plausible explanation. He couldn't find one, so he just stammered. This time, Eunji deliberately changed the subject, gesturing with her hand. This way, please. A strange light suddenly flashed on Jun Jiayong's chest. It seemed to be some kind of special ability used for telepathic communication. They're deliberately leading us on, avoiding the real answer. Director Gu and Inkang, trailing behind, also recognized the signal. They subtly nodded in understanding. As soon as they arrived, Yunji immediately reported, "We're here." A pair of feet in expensive leather shoes slowly stepped in. Before everyone appeared a young man, his neck and ears adorned with gleaming gold jewelry. A confident smile spread across his face as he greeted everyone. Now, Song-gu's suspicions were confirmed. Just as he predicted, this man was the one who created the barrier. The other man quickly recognized him too, and greeted him. "It's a pleasure to see you again, my old friend." But this was no friendly reunion. He stood in a position of power, backed by 5 subordinates in sharp black suits, exuding an air of professionalism. The other man stood below, looking up at Junji. The old man whispered to the young man, "Do you know this man's story?" The young man calmly revealed the mysterious identity. "Eagle, he's the hero banished from glorious Asgard." The young man's sharp eyes suddenly became wary and cautious. "This doesn't look good," he thought to himself. From atop the skyscraper, where the crowd gathered, emanated an extraordinary aura that couldn't be ignored. Eagle and the hunters behind him possessed overwhelming power, enough to destroy the Gangmyeong monsters. But they didn't protect Gangmyeong, he muttered. Eagle humbly reminded his old friend Hindu, "It's an honor to continue this conversation, but it seems you need some rest. You look tired." Song-gu's expression remained unchanged. He weakly called out his name unconsciously. Suddenly, Eagle. His eyes gleamed like precious jewels. The jewelry he wore seemed to react, radiating a dazzling light. "Get some rest. I'll come back for you later. I'll reveal everything that you are so desperate to know right now." With that said, the group on the rooftop turned and left one by one. Just a moment later, Jun Ji's group entered the room. True to the rumors, the amenities here were truly extraordinary. 2 double beds were neatly arranged side by side. The bed sheets were pristine white, as if freshly changed, giving off a pleasant, subtle fragrance of clean linen. And Trang couldn't help but gasp in astonishment. "This is extravagant," she breathed. "It's frightening." Gold-plated furniture in these chaotic times. He really hasn't changed a bit. Jungu couldn't help but recall the past with a bitter taste. That bastard hasn't changed one bit. Jun Ji pressed Eagle once more about his true identity. Is he really an AI? Eagle didn't want to hide it any longer. He admitted to once being one of Asgard's hunters. Eagle is just a nickname. What followed was a series of shocking revelations about Igor's past. He was once a promising hunter, a rising star, and he excelled at top-secret missions under Odin's direct command. The last mission he undertook before being expelled was to scout the situation in Europe. Jun was lost in thought, his mind racing. A talented hunter, reaching hero status, inexplicably expelled. He came to a conclusion. He defected from the SAO. Song-gu spoke, tacitly confirming Jun's suspicion. He was a spy planted to monitor Olympus. However, his identity was exposed, and he betrayed us, providing classified information to Asgard. Igor's past achievements left Jun both astonished and confused. Why was such a traitor only expelled from the SAO? He quickly explained the whole story. He escaped. He got away clean. He was labeled a traitor and declared expelled, but in reality, he had already fled. So there's nothing more we can do. Asuka hadn't been able to find any trace of him. So when I saw the barrier here, I immediately suspected it could be him. Furthermore, Igor is truly a remarkable genius, an extraordinary individual, to the point of holding countless different identities across various fields. He even has another alias at Olympus. As soon as he realized that, his eyes widened in utter astonishment. Impossible. The aura of wealth and affluence radiating from him said it all. Unlimited resources. Yes, at Olympus, he's known as Midas. Suddenly, time seemed to freeze. Hio sneaked through the walls, exploring every nook and cranny. At one point, he came across Youngji, sitting with her arms crossed on the sofa, a pensive look on her face. He quickly turned his head away, focused on completing his task. It silently gathered 10 data points without leaving a single trace. Everywhere was bathed in the ethereal glow emanating from piles of burning joss paper. It immediately sent a report. detailing the entire event to Junjong without missing a single detail. Every room was lavishly adorned with gold, looking more extravagant than a magnificent palace. I also saw many other people. The next sentence left him speechless for a moment, but those people looked more like slaves. Seeing him sigh deeply, Trang softly asked, "How did it go?" His expression turned serious. "That eagle guy, he seems to be imprisoning dissenters. Anyone who dares to defy him. He's filled an entire stadium, packed with people, and he's monitoring them through his hunters." She couldn't help but shudder in fear. Songgu's voice dropped to a faint whisper, as if he himself wasn't entirely sure of what he was about to say. Perhaps he won't do it again. He presented his reasoning based on what he knew about Eagle. "Rumor has it he can turn people into solid gold." He was utterly astonished. "How do you know that?" And he received a blunt answer without hesitation. "I read it in the Demon King's book." A terrifying theory about the origin of the golden monster, Midas, began to unfold. That monster, along with the heretic who kidnapped me. They captured people during the disaster and used their lives to create gold. That's how it created so much gold. The cruel truth was gradually brought to light. It became the funding source for building Eden. Hearing that, a surge of furious energy welled up within her. Her hands clenched, trembling with rage. Her face darkened, ferocious like a demon. Burning fury engulfed her entire being. Nearly losing control to her rising rage, she yelled, "We have to kill that bastard right now." Jun Jiang stood up abruptly, trying to reason with her. "We can't do that," she immediately retorted, "so we just stand by and watch." But he quickly cut her off, his expression just as serious. "No, we've walked right into his trap." His words sent her spiraling into utter confusion. "A trap? What trap?" Songgu agreed with Jun Jiang's assessment. "If we act rashly, Eagle will immediately. There's soldiers guarding the perimeter of the camp, the refugee camp. If we act recklessly, the consequences will be dire. Everyone here will pay with their lives." Her pupils dilated, her face filled with disbelief and horror. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice trembling. Jun Jiang once again emphasized the gravity of the situation. "They're the ones holding us back. In other words, there are bargaining chips." Meanwhile, at headquarters, Igor's subordinates were questioning him with suspicion. "Are you sure about this, sir?" Zijuan spoke coldly. "That's the chairman of the Rich Association and Underdog. Are you certain everything will go smoothly, sir? The fact that those people from Incheon came here," he let out a delighted laugh, "proves that all the trouble in Incheon has been taken care of." A cruel glint flashed in Zijuan's eyes. "That's precisely why we need to eliminate them." Hearing this, Igor didn't respond, but slowly stood up and looked at him with an arrogant air. "Do you have the guts to do it? Do you think you're actually capable of killing them?" Zijuan and his subordinates behind him were all speechless with utter terror. Igor smirked, a knowing look on his face. "They can't just do whatever they please." Jijin cautiously asked, "How can you be so sure, sir?" Igor burst into laughter. "I know Songgu very well," he said, a manic grin spreading across his lips. "He knows we possess crucial information. He won't act rashly. We can't use this to threaten their lives, but we can at least limit their actions." Jijin looked at Igor with worry. "But what if Songgu does something reckless? Underdog and Six Fridge. Rumor has it they're not the type to sit back and take it." Eagle impatiently interrupted. "You don't understand anything. Songgu's power and influence are far greater than you can imagine. Even if Underdog and Six Fridge are furious and want to act on their own, Songgu will stop them." He stroked his chin, a sudden realization dawning on him. Junji's icy expression flashed across Eagle's mind, causing him the thrill of seeing the underdog rise up is exhilarating. The aura radiating from him is as powerful as Songgu's. 6 feet is no exception. Immediately after, he gives the order. "Keep a close eye on them. Even if they can't pull off anything significant, they're still incredibly dangerous lunatics." Jijin obeys the command with a resounding, "Yes, sir." Suddenly, Igor calls him back. "Bring me some girls. I can't control my excitement because of those bastards anymore." Although outwardly obedient, Jijin replies, "Yes, I understand." But inwardly, he's disgusted by this perverted creep. He leaves, not wanting to look at Igor for another second. Meanwhile, Eagle is alone in his room, laughing maniacally. "Ever since I discovered the secret to creating gold, using the lives of the living, I've had to live in hiding." He looks at his hands, lost in memory. The moment I thought my life was over, no one could have foreseen the horrific turn of events. Soon after, a group of beautiful young women were escorted to his chambers, like offerings to a high deity. Meanwhile, outside the school grounds, chaos reigned. People's lives hung by a thread. Bodies lay scattered everywhere, like lifeless shells. Witnessing this tragic scene, In-jang couldn't help but feel heartbroken. The horror was so overwhelming, even innocent children. Suddenly, a man carrying a frail child approached. A haggard hunter. "Please, sir, spare us some food. My child is very ill." The hunter barked coldly. "Silence. Do you want to die? You think we have anything to spare for trash like you?" The desperate man pleaded.